Buckle up, buttercups, a Trump presidency and the EV industry. How a Trump presidency could slam the brakes on Tesla and the entire electric vehicle industry. This is about policy, economics, and a whole lot of uncertainty. We're talking about the potential derailment of a sector poised to revolutionize transportation. If you care about breathable air or a stable climate, then listen up. The EV industry is a fledgling bird, wings still wet behind the ears. It needs all the help it can get to take flight. But a Trump presidency could be like a big orange cat waiting to swat it out of the sky. Potential policy changes could make it harder for companies like Tesla to compete. A shift in focus away from renewable energy. A whole lot of uncertainty in a market that hates uncertainty. Regulatory hurdles, economic roadblocks, and political chaos could leave the EV industry sputtering. Red tape and tailpipes, regulatory rollbacks, and the EV industry. Let's talk regulations, shall we? These boring rules have a huge impact on the car industry. Under a Trump administration, we could see a serious rollback of emissions standards. Those pesky rules that force car companies to make their vehicles a little less polluting? Yeah, those might go out the window.
This isn't just about breathing cleaner air. These standards drive the development and adoption of electric vehicles. They push car makers to innovate and invest in cleaner technologies. Without them, gas guzzlers would be back with a vengeance.
Tax breaks for big oil, speed bumps for electric cars. Remember those sweet, sweet tax credits you get for buying an electric car? Yeah, those might go the way of the dodo bird under a Trump presidency. We're talking about the federal tax credit that gives folks up to $7,500 for buying an EV. It's a powerful incentive that's helped make electric cars more affordable and appealing to everyday consumers.
But here's the kicker. Trump has made it clear that he's no fan of government subsidies, especially when it comes to clean energy. He's repeatedly called for their elimination, arguing that they distort the market and pick winners and losers. And guess what? The EV tax credit is at the top of his hit list.
Now let's be real, the EV tax credit isn't perfect. It mostly benefits wealthier Americans who can actually afford to buy these cars in the first place. But it's still a crucial tool for boosting EV adoption, especially in the early stages of the market. Without it, buying an electric car becomes a much tougher sell, especially when gas prices are relatively low. Trade wars and tariff troubles, Tesla's supply chain in the crosshairs. Trump loves a good trade war, folks, and his love for tariffs is no secret. But here's the thing, tariffs and electric vehicles don't mix. Why? Because Tesla, like most car manufacturers, relies on a complex global supply chain. They source parts and materials from all over the world, including China.
Now, imagine what happens when you slap a hefty tariff on goods coming from China. The cost of those parts goes up. And guess who ends up footing the bill? That's right, the consumer. Suddenly, those shiny new Tesla Model 3s get a whole lot more expensive. And it's not just about the price tag. Tariffs can also disrupt the delicate balance of global trade. They can lead to shortages, delays, and all sorts of logistical nightmares. Imagine Tesla trying to ramp up production of its Model Y, only to find out that the batteries they need are stuck on a ship somewhere because of a trade dispute. Not exactly a recipe for success, is it?
Market mayhem, economic uncertainty, and the EV consumer.
Let's be honest, folks. The stock market is a fickle beast. It's got more mood swings than a teenager on a sugar rush. And guess what really sets it off? Uncertainty.
That's right, the stock market hates uncertainty more than a cat hates a bath. And unfortunately, a Trump presidency is about as uncertain as it gets.
Think about it. Unpredictable trade policies, volatile economic conditions, and a president who seems to thrive on chaos. Not exactly the kind of environment that inspires confidence in investors.
And when investors get nervous, they tend to pull their money out of risky assets like, you guessed it, electric vehicle companies.
Now, this doesn't mean that Tesla is doomed to fail. They're a resilient bunch over there in Palo Alto, but it does mean that they're going to have to navigate a whole lot of economic turbulence.
They'll need to be smart, adaptable, and maybe even a little bit lucky to come out on top. Infrastructure inertia charging networks and the renewable energy slump.
Okay, let's talk infrastructure, specifically the stuff that makes electric cars actually work. Charging stations. You see, even the fanciest Tesla is useless if it runs out of juice in the middle of nowhere. That's why building a robust charging network is crucial for the mass adoption of EVs.
Now, here's where things get tricky. A Trump administration has made it clear that they're not exactly gung-ho about investing in clean energy infrastructure.
They've slashed funding for renewable energy research, rolled back environmental regulations, and generally sent a message that climate change isn't exactly a top priority. And that's a problem for electric vehicles, because let's face it, they're only as clean as the electricity that powers them.
If we're serious about reducing our reliance on fossil fuels, we need to invest in renewable energy sources like solar and wind power. We need to build a smarter, more sustainable grid that can handle the increasing demand for electricity. America first, EVs last. International isolation and the global green race. Here's a little secret. The fight against climate change isn't a solo mission. It requires global cooperation, collaboration, and a shared sense of urgency. It means working together to reduce emissions, develop clean technologies, and transition to a more sustainable future. But under a Trump administration, the U.S. has turned its back on international climate agreements, withdrawn from global partnerships, and generally adopted an America-first approach that prioritizes short-term gains over long-term sustainability. And guess what? That's not exactly a winning strategy when it comes to tackling a global challenge like climate change. This isolationist stance has real consequences for the electric vehicle industry. It means missing out on opportunities to collaborate with other countries on research and development. It means falling behind in the global race to develop and deploy clean technologies. And it means ceding leadership on one of the most pressing issues of our time. Tesla on the tightrope navigating the political minefield. Let's be real, folks. Tesla isn't just an automaker. They're a disruptor, an innovator, and a lightning rod for controversy. They've challenged the status quo, ruffled some feathers, and generally made a lot of enemies along the way. And in the hyper-partisan world of American politics, that's not always a good thing. Tesla has become a symbol of everything from Silicon Valley elitism to liberal environmentalism to the dangers of technological disruption. And that makes them a prime target for political attacks, especially from those who feel threatened by their success. Now, Tesla is no stranger to a good fight. They've battled entrenched interests, navigated regulatory hurdles, and overcome countless obstacles on their path to success. But the political landscape under a Trump administration is particularly treacherous. The road ahead, charting a course through the Trumpian storm. So, where does this leave us? Well, it's safe to say that the road ahead for Tesla and the EV industry is looking pretty bumpy. We've got regulatory rollbacks, economic uncertainty, infrastructure challenges, and a whole lot of political headwinds. It's enough to make even the most optimistic EV enthusiast want to trade in their Tesla for a horse and buggy. But here's the thing. The EV revolution isn't going to be stopped that easily. The momentum behind clean transportation is too strong, the technology too promising, and the need for a sustainable future too urgent. Yes, there will be challenges. Yes, there will be setbacks. But the companies, policymakers, and consumers who believe in a cleaner, greener future aren't going to give up without a fight. They'll continue to innovate, to advocate, and to push for the changes we need to create a more sustainable world. A moment of sober reflection, the stakes for the planet. Let's take a step back from the political circus for a moment and remember what's really at stake here. This isn't just about Tesla's bottom line or the future of the auto industry. This is about the health of our planet and the well-being of generations to come. Climate change is real, it's happening now, and it's a threat to our very existence. We're already experiencing more extreme weather events, rising sea levels, and widespread ecological disruption. And if we don't take action soon, the consequences will be catastrophic. The transportation sector is a major contributor to global greenhouse gas emissions. Cars, trucks, planes, and ships spew out billions of tons of carbon dioxide and other pollutants into the atmosphere every year, warming the planet and polluting our air. Fasten your seatbelts. The future of EVs in a turbulent world. So, what does the future hold for electric vehicles in this uncertain political climate? Well, it's impossible to say for sure, but one thing is clear. The road ahead will be bumpy, unpredictable, and full of surprises. The EV industry is at a crossroads. It has the potential to revolutionize transportation, reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, and create a cleaner, more sustainable future. but it also faces significant challenges, from political opposition to technological hurdles to consumer adoption. The choices we make today will determine the course of the EV revolution. Will we embrace clean transportation and invest in the technologies of the future? Or will we cling to the status quo and allow short-term interests to derail progress?